So, we need to talk about media bias. I came across this post on Facebook and was immediately alarmed based on the incredibly inflammatory language. So, the first thing I did was click through to the full article, and the article, like the post, again, incredibly inflammatory, seemed to imply that people on the left are inherently violent and would support the unaliving of politicians on the right. My next step was to go and look for the actual survey, the actual study, which was put out by the Network Contagion Research Institute. Now, the NCRI is affiliated with Rutgers University, and it does not appear to have an inherent political bias. It puts out similar studies and surveys on right-wing violence. That being said, this particular study only included 1,200 people on the left, and I would not conclude that a survey which includes such a small population would be indicative of the left in the United States as a whole. One of the things I also found a bit troubling about the study is the fact that it cited Blue Sky as a hotbed of left-wing extremism and radicalization. And I personally use that app daily, and I have never seen anyone really advocate for violence on that app. I mean, I certainly don't follow everyone who uses it, so it's possible that there is that type of activity going on, but I'm simply not seeing it. So my next step was to look at News 4 San Antonio itself, and that is really a centrist, perhaps center-right outlet. So I actually called them up and I spoke to a reporter to express my concern, and I told her that I felt like this was unethical reporting and that it was in fact dangerous and divisive. And she actually agreed with me. And what she told me is that this article is not one that News 4 San Antonio wrote and put out itself. It was written and put out by the parent company, which is Sinclair Broadcasting Group. And Sinclair Broadcasting Group owns, I think, roughly 140 local news stations covering about 40% of American households. And it is most definitely a right-wing pro-Trump outlet, which tells me that this post was designed specifically with the intent to incite and divide, which is exactly what it did. So I want to take you through some of the responses to this post, which I find very alarming. So here's a sampling. I mean, they unalive peeps they don't like. Time to return the favor. New civil war. Bring it on, lefties. It won't last long. Maybe we should send Democrats to the big, beautiful Club Med type of facility in El Salvador. And they should all be arrested as terrorists. And then we have unaliving them would only make martyrs out of them. Supporting unaliving them will only give Trump an excuse to crack down on peaceful dissent in the name of law and order. Now arrest every single one of these people for terrorism. The Democrats need to be declared a domestic terror organization. Take them off the streets and lock them up. They are a danger to society. Terroristic threats to the president, not only criminal, but stupid. This shows that they are mentally unstable and the left is the violent party. They all need to be held accountable. These people need to be put on a plane and shipped out of the USA now. And finally, the left is so full of hate and unhinged. They are domestic terrorists. The entire Democratic Party and all of their NGOs that have been funding the destruction of property throughout the country should be listed as domestic terrorist organizations. And here the United States Department of Justice is tagged. And I will add that this poster, whose identity I have disguised, actually has a photo in full uniform, so he appears to be a member, an active duty member of the military. Continuing on, demos should be deported. They should all be arrested as terrorists. So this is exactly my concern. This is what I worried about when I first saw the post. I knew that this was the sort of response we were going to get. And to be honest, I feel like these types of articles are exactly the kind of thing that the president could use in order to justify declaring people on the left terrorists. So what do? We need to be very aware and alert when it comes to media and react and respond when we see things that appear way out of line like this. I called News 4 San Antonio and expressed my concern. I also replied to the Facebook post immediately, even before I did any research, to say I am on the left and I do not condone this. I do not know anyone else who would condone this. We are not violent towards people or property, and we do not support violence towards people or property. Then, after I had done my research and learned that the Sinclair Broadcasting Group is the company that put out this information, I returned to the post again to point that out and also to highlight the fact that the Sinclair Broadcasting Group is a right-wing pro-Trump organization. I also included a note indicating that the person I talked to at News 4 San Antonio stated that she agreed with me that this article was misleading, unethical, and dangerous. So these are the types of things that I think that we need to do, unfortunately, and I don't know that it's enough to fully offset the harm, because these articles reinforce beliefs that the right already has, that have been indoctrinated into them via decades of consumption of Rush Limbaugh and Fox News and One America and Newsmax, the right-wing podcasters. It is incredibly difficult to overcome, but we have to try wherever we can. When we see stuff like this, we need to call it out. I am still going to call Sinclair Broadcasting. And for people who have the capacity, we need to try to engage in conversations with people on the right so that we can rehumanize people on the left. They think of us as a single, uniform, evil blob, a group of people that hate the United States, that hate everyone on the right, that intend to destroy this country. The way that we are talked about in right-wing media, we are not people. We have to work to humanize ourselves, and that is utterly ridiculous and absurd. I totally understand that. It's frustrating. It's wrong. We shouldn't have to do that. But I, as a person with white privilege, have been attempting to connect with people on the right, even though I don't really want to, because I feel like it is something that I need to do. I need to try to humanize the left, because the people who are most likely to face danger in the form of violence from the right are the people who are members of marginalized communities. I do not want that to happen.